Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, family.
Good
God
morning,
bless
honey.
you.
How are you?
Hey, baby. I'm
You
good.
doing all right? I'm doing
good.
good. We're in
Yes.
Genesis chapter 2, and we've already discussed the forming of man from the dust of the ground. He became a living soul. Another nugget is that, like Jesus, we mentioned, was the last Adam. Uh, they were both sons of God,
Okay.
which is interesting. And we don't we kind of say, hey, we're all God's children and things of that nature. But just an interesting technicality is that there were really only two sons of God.
Okay.
Okay, that were human. Okay, Jesus, the Son of God, because God overshadowed Mary, okay, and was the father of Jesus Christ,
Okay.
okay, literally, okay. But the Bible calls the sons of God those that he directly created. Directly,
Okay.
not through procreation, but through direct creation.
Okay.
Okay, so Adam was created and Eve was created, were direct creations of God. We are sons of Adam.
Okay.
Okay, we are born sons of Adam. Adam was the son of God. The angels, all individually created by God, they are called the sons of God. We see in the book of Job that they met together, and the sons of God were there. Okay, that's speaking of the angelic host, and Adam is a son of God. Jesus Christ is a son of God. So, where salvation affects fatherhood is an individual at birth. All are born sons of Adam. That's why we need a new birth, because the original birth identifies us with Adam and his fall,
In his fall.
you see. And through the redemption of Christ, the Son of God, now we come up under the other Son of God. Okay, in the new birth, and we are adopted as children of God through and in Jesus Christ, just like we were in Adam. Okay, when he breathed into him the breath of life, and he became a living soul. So through Jesus and his blood, we experienced the new birth, okay? And the new birth is in direct contrast to our birth in Adam, the Son of God, okay? Now we are under Christ, the Son of God. Now, the problem comes is some people die as sons of Adam. And so therefore they are identified with Adam and they go in the hell line, unfortunately. But those who have experienced the new birth, okay, come under the Son of God, Jesus, okay? And through his sacrifice, they are made the sons of God. So that's why in John it says, to those that believe in him, to them gave he power to become sons of God, okay, through Jesus Christ. Okay, so through Christ's sonship, we get sonship of God. And so you really have two races of beings on this earth. They're not black and white or Asian or whatever. You have sons of Adam and you have sons of Christ. Okay, or sons of God through Christ, and so that's an interesting technicality there. That's another thing that has its foundation in the book of Genesis. Just one of those nuggets that we can pull out of Genesis. And we mentioned that he planted a garden for man's convenience. Man did not need to work to live. man worked in order to please God and to fulfill his creativity. And so God gave him everything he needed basically at his fingertips so that he could work with it. He gave him all the creative tools that he would need. He would need to refine those things and invent things, and he gave him a brain far superior than our brain, I believe. This is just my theory. I can't fully substantiate it, but based on the fact that we only use a certain portion of our brain, scientists have differences on what portion of our brains we actually have access to be able to use. But I don't believe that God created anything to only be used in minimum capacities. Okay, I believe that the fall retarded our actual mental capacities, but Adam was not retarded.
It's perfect.
Yes, he was perfect with full use of his brain. I don't know this for a fact, but I don't believe cows just use a certain small portion of their brain or anything else. I believe that only man has been, but it could be possible that's the case as well. But we see certain evidences of this in as much as Eve was able to communicate with a snake. Okay, if that was not normal, okay, that would have already, because she was not dumb, it would have says, okay, this is Satan speaking through the snake. But I believe that it was not unusual for Eve to speak to a snake or anything else. They had dominions over the creatures, and I believe that part of this dominion capacity was the ability to communicate with them so that they could hold them in subjection. And so that's just some interesting theory. So with those brains, and by the way, it didn't take hundreds of thousands of years for man to develop certain abilities. We see very early on, we'll be seeing this as we move into chapter 4 and 5, that very early in man's history, he was working metals and making instruments and things of that nature, just in a couple of generations. And so we'll see some of that here. It says, verse 10.
So your Genesis chapter 2.
Chapter 2. Let's just go to, we need to do number 9.
Okay, let me do it.
Okay.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
Genesis chapter 2, verse 9. The Lord God made all kinds of trees to grow out of the ground, trees that were pleasing to the eye and good for food.
So let's stop right there. The trees that God caused to grow out of the ground were both functional. Okay, they were utilitarianly useful. Okay, in that they provided nutrients for mankind, but they were also beautiful, pleasing to the sight. So this gives you an indication of God's provision. It's not just utilitarian. Okay. It was also beautiful, okay, and that's how he wants man to experience beauty, art, cultivation, as well as just the necessities of living, And people say, well, I eat to live. Okay, well, that may be fine, and I don't hold that against, to each his own. But that's not, that has no basis in God's plan. Okay, he wanted the food to be beautiful. Okay, as well as nutritious, and so that's, we just have an insight there. That's another nugget. Go ahead.
In the middle of the garden were the tree of life. Let me do that again. So in the middle of the garden were the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Okay, so in the middle of the garden, like so right there in the center as a focal point. Okay. So if you're designing anything, okay, if you're designing a room, if you're designing a garden, if you're designing anything, part of design theory is you have certain things that are focal points, and you build everything else around the focal points. Okay, you have color focal points. You may have object focal points, and the object focal points of the garden were 2 trees. Okay, and one tree was the tree of life. Okay, and that the other tree is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Okay, so now we have this word good and evil, but this is not the first time that we see these words, the word good. Okay, we see in chapter 1, we see good at least 7 or 8 times. Okay, and he saw. After he created, it says he saw or he evaluated that which he created, and he saw that it was good. Okay, this was, I believe we said earlier, this is the divine prerogative. Only God, because he is the author, therefore the authority. Okay, he is the only one that is legally capable of declaring a thing good or evil. But now there's this tree in the midst of the garden that is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. By the way, it's not the tree of knowledge. Okay, that's misquoted and misunderstood by anybody. So they're saying, hey, some people say, well, God doesn't want us to have, he didn't want man to have knowledge. He wanted to keep mankind ignorant. No, not at all. He gave him an extraordinary brain, an extraordinary mind. Okay, so knowledge. Just the fact, like I said earlier, that we were created on the outer bands of the Milky Way galaxy so that we could see inside the Milky Way and also outside, meant that he was not trying to keep us from knowledge. Okay, so this was not the tree of knowledge, that if he would eat this tree that he would now be capable of having knowledge and would get him out of ignorance. Okay, that's not the thing at all. But it is the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And this word knowledge is just like we see in chapter 4. It says, Adam knew his wife and conceived a son. It's talking about intimate intercourse with a thing. Okay? It is entering into intimate intercourse with a thing. So therefore, if we put those two elements together, that this tree is would give man intimate knowledge, okay, of good and evil for himself. So what that does is now take the divine prerogative away from God and now places it in the hands of all of mankind. So as many people as you have, now they feel that they have the knowledge of good and evil, that which only belongs to God. Okay, so what we have on the planet today is near 7 billion people, okay, who all have one thing in common, is that we think that we can determine good and evil for ourselves. We actually think that we are judges, thus gods, over whatever we survey. That's why marriage is so hard, because you have 2 people who think they know, okay, good and evil, and their way is the way, Okay, and they got to have their things just the way they want it, and people are willing to not only know it for themselves, but to inflict their knowledge of good and evil onto you. You see, and we call that arrogance. Okay, the one is an undue pride. Okay, because this never belonged to man. Okay, but arrogance is when you take your pride and try to impress it upon another. Okay, and the things that and so now what that did is where they had an intimate relationship with God, they knew Him. They knew everything was built on the reality cycle. God said it, it was so, it was good. That's how the universe runs, okay? And that's how they saw it at that time. God said it, it was so, it is good. Okay, now we're going to see if they take of this fruit, okay? Now it shifts from God said it, it is so, it is good, to what do I think? Based on what I see, hear, taste, smell, feel on the inside, touch, okay, our five senses, and now we are separated from God because the impact of us being the judges has even, it now disallows us to even see the Creator, so that it takes a leap of faith even to acknowledge His existence. That's how far this fruit has taken us. Okay, and so there's a tree of life, which I believe was a good tree. We can speculate on what it was. I believe that it is a tree that maintains eternal life, which is good for them to take until they took this other fruit. Because if they would have took the other fruit, I believe, after the fruit of the tree of life, after taking the bite of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, then they would have been locked in forever and been unredeemable, because they would have been locked permanently into life, thinking that they were gods, which made them permanently unredeemable. So that's why God, He posted a cherubim, okay, over the tree of life. So with a four-bladed sword that faced in every direction, so that nobody would be able to eat of this tree and damn themselves by locking themselves into that state. Okay, and this is what God is delivering us from in our sanctification process. He's delivering us from life being all about us, okay, in our Godship, in us turning lordship of our lives and our views over to Him where they rightfully belong. Okay, that's what Christian maturity is about. That's what Christian education is about. That's what sanctification is about, and walking with God. It is all about the process of undoing in real time and space with this nature present, this nature that's been defiled by the knowledge of good and evil, okay? So that we're going from us being the judge to allowing God to be Lord once again. Well, family, I trust you are blessed. That was a lot of fun. God bless you all. Remember to take that finger and smash the subscribe button, notification bell, and if you liked it, smash like. You didn't have to love it. Just if you liked it, just hit that like button so that we can spread this message all around the world. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.